Yo, what's up guys? It's your man, I Do a Barber, back with another full length haircut tutorial. You saw the shorter version of this haircut, but now we're doing the full length just to give you all the nitty gritty, the behind the scenes stuff with this haircut. So I'm knocking his hair down, as you can see there. I'm just knocking it down very easily. And this is fairly simple. You want to make sure you get all the way through because as you see, there's little antennas. You want to make multiple passes so you make sure there's no antennas on the top and you get everything knocked down evenly. You don't want any shelves, any things bulging out once the haircut is finished. So you want to make sure you do this quickly. And I use the blade, as you see, because it cuts the hair cleaner than the guards. I noticed with the guards, you got to do a lot of motions, but with the blades, it can take it down very easily. And now I'm going right underneath that with the smaller blade. And some people will knock this down with all one length. I just choose to do it this way because I can work more efficiently, because that hair at the bottom is going to get balded out anyway, so it's unnecessary for me to do that. And guys, don't forget, if you're new to the channel, smash the like button, subscribe, and press the notification bell so you can stay up to date when I drop videos like this. So I'm going to continue to go around the head and knock this hair down, and I like to work efficiently through this. You know, I don't want to make any unnecessary movements, and that's what you need to do when you're trying to get fast at cutting hair. You need to work efficiently. It made no sense if I were to try and knock that bottom portion down with the 3.5. It's coming off anyway. So I'm going to create the bald line going all the way around the head, and you want to make sure this hair is even and balanced across his head. It's like you don't want one side higher than the other, because that's going to throw off the balance of the fade. Now I go all the way around. Now I don't recommend you guys do this because of course you tend to sometimes make an uneven line, but it's easily fixed. You could even see that's uneven, but we'll fix it and there's no problem. So now I'm using my Babyliss Silver FXs, and by the way, if there's any tools that you see in the video that you might like or curious about, there's links in the description below to Amazon, or even my shop Amazon link, so you can buy whatever you like on Amazon and help and support the channel in that way. So I'm just making sure this hair gets knocked down evenly, because we're going to come back with the shaver. And of course, you know, most shavers can't take down long amounts of hair. Actually, my Braun Series 7, the one that I have, it actually does. And it's kind of interesting, and it's one of the reasons why I prefer the Bronze over an Andis, a Wall, a Babyliss, or Gamma, like whatever. The Braun shavers, whether it's the Series 7 or the Series 9, they could take down long amounts of hair, and for me, that's great. But when you're balding out, you want to make sure that the hair is knocked down fairly short, so you can make your life easier when you use the shaver. So as you see there, just knocking it down very easily. Typically I would use a 5-0 blade, but I'm not gonna lie, the past few months I've been using my Babyliss to bald out, and it actually does a pretty decent job. It actually gets even closer than my 5-0 detachment, because that one's even zero gap, but my Babyliss just gets a little bit closer. And I like it because it bridges the gap perfectly from trimmer to shaver. You know, I don't have to worry about a shaver line, or even if I do leave one, these can remove it quite easily. So as you see there, I'm going up to that line, and I'm leaving a little bit of space in between. I'm not going completely up to the top of that line, just because when you look at this, there's going to be a fade within the fade. So there's this portion where I put it in with the lever closed, I came underneath with the trimmer, then I'm going to come underneath that with the shaver. So there's like a small fade within the fade. And as I see, you know, I'm coming underneath now to completely bald them out. And that's that small detail that you won't see, but it's actually very important, especially when it comes time to removing the bald line, because I know a lot of beginners have problems with this, and I'm going to be honest, you shouldn't. Just set your tools up properly and you will not have this problem. This should be an afterthought, because you should be wanting to focus on more important parts of the fade, of, you know, the blend, the balance, things like this, not worry about the bald line. And putting it in with the clippers closed, your adjustables closed, it's perfect, because what you put something in with is what you use to take it out with. So me putting it in with the lever closed, it's so easy for me to remove it, because typically when you're fading, you're coming back with the lever closed. Now I'm keeping the same pressure with the shaver. And as you see, I'm going all the way up there to that portion. You see, I'm not going all the way up to the top. I'm actually going up a little bit lower. And sometimes when I do a fade, I may do the fade a little bit higher, knowing that I'm going to leave that little bit of gap in between, because that's going to be the start of the fade. And you can kind of see it if you look closely. There's just a little bit of stubble there, as you can see, but it's very minuscule. These are things and the little subtle nuances of barbering that you're not going to see in most haircut tutorials because they won't point it out, but this is very important. And as you see, I'm buffing out any residue of line that was left. And this is the portion, like when I flip my trimmers like this, these Babyliss cuts really close in that position when you turn them and flip them in that position. When you lay them flat, it gets it close, but that way, oh my gosh. So now we're going to create our, I guess, secondary line with, going around the head again, following the guideline that was created with the adjustables closed. And we're going 1 inch. You want to make sure it's even. Typically in the back of the head, the hair is more coarse, dense, a little bit harder to remove that bottom line in some cases. But in this scenario, it isn't. So sometimes you may want to expand the guideline in the back. I've done this before, and sometimes you want to do this, but in this case, I don't have to. It's just a little piece of advice, a little tidbit for you guys. So as you see there, I just tidied up that guideline. And a lot of times, guys, with the initial bald line, it doesn't have to be like completely like straight sometimes, because you're going to remove it. But this comes with experience. But for the beginner, you want to make sure you're working perfectly. So now the lever is like slightly, I'm closing about halfway. And we're going up about 3/4 of a way into that line. You can see the motion where my clippers end from the bottom line where it starts. And now the line is, or not the line, but the lever is almost closed. And I put the line in with the lever closed, but when it's almost closed, the line's going to be pretty much removed, as you can see there. And now I'm going to close, and now I'm going to be using a lot of the corners to remove any remnants. As you see, you can see it removing right there. Any little remnants that was left, I'm just buffering that out with the corners. You see that, using a lot of the corners because most of the work was done already. And as you can see there, pretty much done. And now we're going to go on to the next side and repeat the exact same steps. Consistency will make you a better barber. It will make barbering a lot easier for you when you have a system that works, that you like. And once you get it down like the back of your hand, you're going to see yourself start fading a lot quicker. So as you see, I'm already through this portion of the fade. And look, you can see that portion of the fade that's right there by his temple. That line was pretty much removed where we are now with the blade, which the blade is almost closed here. And that line, like I say, that part of the fade fades out so easily. It's just ridiculous, as you see, versus, relation to the back of his head. But that process, this doesn't take that long. You can see how long this took to erase this line. And of course, I'm just finessing the fade, using the corners and stuff like that. Now we're gonna just connect the back with the sides. And I'm working in panels. Typically, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I do this in the barbershop and sometimes I don't. For YouTube purposes, it's better for your viewing pleasure for me to work in panels versus me just going all the way around the head, in which I typically work, so it can give you a better visual and things like this. And with Asian hair or straight hair that's coarse, you want to look at the hair from the sides and instead of straight on. And I'm going to explain that here in a second. So we're creating our, I guess, third guideline, and we're going up another inch. So I'm using the combinations of blades and guards in this video. And this is how I typically work on straight hair. On straight hair, I love working like this. On black people, I don't like this system because the wall half, I don't like the way it cut black people's hair. But on straight hair, I love the wall half guard. Butter when you mix it with a combination of guards. So now that that's complete, we're gonna go on to the wall half with the lever open and start removing this line. And you're gonna see that bottom line lighten like immediately as I use this. You're gonna see the difference in the fade and in the transition. So with Asian hair, you wanna make sure you look at it not only from the front, not the front, but the like wherever you're cutting. You don't just want to take that look and say, okay, that's great. You want to look from the back or look face him to you and look at the sides of the fade just to make sure it looks faded from the front, because a lot of times that's the only way the client's going to see their hair. They're not going to look at their hair the way that you can see their hair. And honestly, that it'll show you some problems that you might have in the blend, you know, especially when it comes to the bottom line. Like maybe you need to just buffer it out with the trimmers or something. And as you see there, this line is pretty much done. This, you know, it's really quick. This when you work like this, it happens very fast, as you just saw. I basically started with the lever open, halfway, then closed. But we're gonna do this on the other side, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. I'll give you a more better in depth, but it just goes to show how quickly this happens. So again, look, lever open, and I'm gonna do this panel, and it's gonna happen very fast. And of course, it depends on the person's hair, you know, but nevertheless, this works. You know, I've been doing this in plenty of tutorials. You guys know me for this if you're subscribed to the channel. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel, you know. So just right there, you see I slightly closed the lever and I'm going in the opposite direction on which the hair grows. You see there, lever's halfway closed and the line is getting removed. And it's practically not even there, guys. Like, I mean, I'm just doing the detail work. I'm closing, pretty much almost closing the lever. You can see in the area which I'm working, which is at the bottom, it's pretty much done. And so now we're gonna connect the back with the sides again, just like we did with the initial guideline. Start with the lever open, working our way closed. Just like all of the panels that we created. We started open and worked our way closed. Now you can work from closed to open. I just prefer to work this way because I like blending down, because you can control the blend and the balance and all of this stuff. When you fade up, yes, you can control the balance, but you gotta make sure you know what you're doing. And I like working this way better. That's pretty much done. So now we're gonna go in right above the 1.5 with this blade and start connecting the sides to the top, as you see there. You can see that little shelf that was at the back, pretty much knocked that out. There's still a little bit of a shelf, you can see if you look there closely. And this is one of those things where when you're fading hair like this, hair that goes straight out or hair that needs to grow 3 inches before it can actually bend, you need to make sure you're looking at the silhouette. Just find a clear, or not clear, but an offsetting contrast to their hair in the background and spin them and look at it, and that'll tell you everything. Long story short, a white wall or something. So now we're just gonna come back again. We knocked down this earlier with this, but we're coming back to it because that 2 just left a little bit of something. So now we just got to go back and make sure everything is tidy. This is very simple. I'm just using my blades, just kind of tap in any little dark spots. And like I say, when you look at something straight on, it's a lot different when you look at it from a front profile. You know, you got to really take a different approach. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm spinning him and I'm looking at his silhouette. Because next to my mirror, the wall's white, obviously. And that's what I do to check the profile. You can see there, the right side of his edge up, it's a little light because we used to do like pompadours and comb overs with him. And I could actually still kind of see the lines from those, that pompadour and a comb over with the side parts. Maybe that's why his edge up on the right side is a little thin, quite possibly. But as you see, I'm starting from the left and working my way right. Typically, most people start in the middle and work their way out. I had a video on how to do an edge up where I did the box first, then worked my way in. And I'm gonna be honest, like I work very different on people's and all of my clients' edge ups. For my clients that come in more frequently, I don't really start in the middle all the time because their edge ups are pretty much there. And all I gotta do is just follow the line, as long as I didn't screw up, right? But that's pretty much it. So as you see here, we're gonna do the other side of his edge up. And the other side, you know, we gotta bring it up a little bit, because as you see, like, it's very, very light. So we just brought that other side up a little bit here just to make sure that it was balanced with the other hair, especially with it being thin. So right here, focus on 90 degrees. When you're doing these corners, you want to make sure this is 90 degrees. Remember that, guys. It's basically like an L. You want to make sure it's like an L, but which is 90 degrees. And this is a good reference when you're looking at doing someone's edge up in the corners there. You want 90 degrees. If you go past 90, that's not good. That's not good. If you go less than 90, it's gonna look funny, guys. 90 degrees. Remember that. It's a good point of reference when you're thinking about someone's edge up in the corners there. And you could look at it from the side. When you turn them to the side and look at it in the mirror, you can see if you're on or off. You know what an L looks like, especially if you're American English speaking. You know what an L looks like. Well, if you don't, you're gonna definitely take a L. So now we're gonna just tidy this up with the razor. Just knock off any stubbles that we see. Very simple. And once you're done with this, you want to detail your fade and go back and make sure there's anything that you didn't leave behind. You just want to make sure everything is nice and tidy. So just know that, guys, like when you do this stuff, to make sure everything is nice and tidy, go back and detail. I usually do this a lot, and of course I did this here with his fade. So here's the finished product. You guys let me know what you think. What did you think of the fade? Hopefully you learned something from this haircut tutorial. Shout out to my client. It's always nice seeing him and his brother always cut their hair when they both come in and have good conversations about MMA, boxing, life, investing, stuff like this. So these young guys, they're definitely gonna be on their way if they follow a good example. So again, let me know what you guys think. Appreciate you guys hanging out for this full length tutorial. Let me know what kind of hairstyles you want to see next. But it's been your man, I Do It, signing out. I'll holla.